Hey buddy, watch this.
Hello, Regis Kilbin is the name and Hearthstone is the game, and this is my journey to Aggro budget aggro rogue. Now first things first, when I say budget, I really mean it. This deck costs less than 1,000 arcane dust to craft, but of course this is not the kind of deck that's gonna take you to Legend. This deck has some limits. It's really designed for people who are new to the game, perhaps returning to the game with Aggro, don't have a lot to work with. Maybe they're starting out at rank 25 and just looking to get somewhere like rank 15, maybe rank 10 with a lot of dedication and patience. But again, the deck will start to lose eventually the higher you climb up on the ladder, but still can get you started, can get you rolling, and can get you some important cards in the Aggro era that'll help you build on your collection in the future. So all of that said, let's go ahead and take a look at this list and see exactly what it's all about. First and foremost, this is an aggro deck, which means it's designed to get a lot of stuff onto the board quickly and then really rush your opponent down with minion pressure, but also damage from hand that will allow you to kill your opponents quickly. So you'll see a lot of things in this deck, primarily minions that are cheap and you can go really wide on the board with. So in other words, playing multiple minions in a single turn is often something you want to do with this deck. But you also see damage in the deck, some of which is used on minions, others for your weapons, sometimes just spells. And then finally you'll see sort of tempo plays that help you stabilize your board by very efficiently dealing with your opponents. Cards like Sap and Backstab, for instance, can just get stuff out of the way and help you protect your assets so that you continue to be really aggressive and push your opponent over before they actually have time to develop the defensive strategies necessary to hold off against your onslaught. So let's move through this list and talk about what each of those things kind of are. As far as the cheap minions are concerned, we've got old staples like Argent Squire, but also new cards in Aggro like Firefly, which although it doesn't look aggressive since it's only a one-attack minion, it does just help you really flatten out your curve. In other words, it's really flexible because you can play 1 mana of it now, you can play the second half Battlecry minion later to fill in another turn, plus cheap minions and cheap playable cards like this are really important for combo effects. For instance, like with SI7 Agent to help you activate those combos, so it works really nicely there. You've got your South Seas and your Defias to just help you swarm the board even farther. An interesting card new with Aggro that works in this strategy a lot is the Ravisar Runt. If you have 2 minions out, this guy can get really scary good quite quickly for a 2-drop. And with things like Argent Squire, a sticky minion, multiple bodies with Defias, multiple bodies with Firefly, this thing will activate more often than not. Razor Petal Lasher is another little card added into this list. And it essentially just gives you resources. You can tend to run out of gas a little bit in decks like this, but Razor Petal Lasher allows you to just build more things in your hand while still developing a cheap body that can accomplish things on the board, but also gives you a Razor Petal that can, activate your SI7. Sometimes it could just give you that last damage point that you really need to win the game as well. Finally, there are some like chargers in the deck, like Reckless Racketeer and Wolf Rider to help you finish off your opponents. Weapon buffs with Naga Corsair and Deadly Poison. Minion buffs with Cold Blood. Another Aggro card that actually makes the cut in this list is the Hallucination here. And that may not really seem to fit the game plan, but it's another one of those cards you can just slot it in. It cycles itself into a new card. It helps you activate combos. Sometimes it'll help you find the Fireball to win the game. Other times it might be a really nice minion in the mid game to help you get over the hump and just play that final piece that your opponent can't actually answer. And then of course Eviscerate, the old classic here for Rogue as well. Just a bunch of damage in a single card, which is always really nice. So that's the list, and as you can see from the mana curve here, starts out very fast and tapers off quite quickly, but still a lot of power in this deck and a lot of aggression in this deck, which means it's actually not that hard to win games. And when you do win games, you do so in a very quick fashion, which is great for people who are trying to ladder up on not only a dust budget, but also on a time budget if you just don't have a lot of time to work with. Fast decks like this one can really benefit you as far as winning games, hitting those win streaks quickly, and shooting at the ladder really fast. So now that we've gone through the deck in detail, I think we just need to start playing it. And when we play it, we can do things like talk about our mulligans, walk through some early lines of play, talk about efficiencies, counters in the meta right now, so on and so forth. Now, normally I take this out onto the ranked ladder to see it in action, but since I'm getting very close to Legend, and I don't want to sacrifice my progress on the ranked ladder right now with a deck that, as I mentioned, is not designed to play at rank 2. This is just not meant to be successful that high up. So I think we'll have to go ahead and just jump into casual right now. We'll still see some good matchups and some good decks, and we'll get to see how this deck operates itself in casual, so I'm not worried about the experience. I think we'll still learn quite a bit along the way. So up first is a Priest. That can be problematic if they run into early game taunts, or just frankly like a Northshire Cleric can really disrupt what we're trying to accomplish sometimes, because it just trades into things like Argent Squire. He gets some value off his hero power, so on and so forth. So we will keep this curve 1, 2, 3. You're really looking to smooth out your curve as much as possible. The Razor Petal Lasher is not your best 2-drop by any means, but if you've got something consistent to get started with, it doesn't hurt at all to go for it. And this will work just fine. We can just play the Argent Squire here. It's really no different than the Firefly as far as trading into the Northshire Cleric. We'll probably play the Razor Petal Lasher on 2 instead of the Defiance Ringleader, so that we can combo the Firefly into the Ringleader on 3, right? Or perhaps even if we want to, maybe the Razor Petal itself into the Defiance Ringleader. We don't have a cheap spell to activate the SI until turn 4, but we do have 2 1-drops, so one of these will be activated on turn 4 for a pretty good play, I think. That's a little bit annoying, just because it requires me to trade both guys in, and essentially gives him double card draw. But all the same, I think we'll do it just to prevent it from getting buffed with like a Cabal Talon Priest or Power Word Shield. I'd rather take the minion off and give him the cards, because he's not yet at a point where he can clear this board with like Holy Nova or Dragonfire Potion. He could do something like Potion of Madness trade to kill maybe my 2 best minions over here, but he's still likely to leave me with a lot of stuff. That's a weird card to see. Casual card here. Not something you'd traditionally see in Constructed. So we can kill that, for instance, with just what's in hand and go face with everything else. There's another opportunity here to kind of save the Razor Petal. And for instance, we could just Flame Elemental SI trade, put one of these down to like 1 health. It's not going to matter that it's 1 health necessarily. He still has a coin though, so Holy Nova starts to become a very terrifying proposal. So I guess we can't really afford to play around it. So we'll do this just to save 1 minion at least against a Holy Nova, right? He hasn't coined yet, I don't think. Or did he actually? No, he actually coined out the Acolyte, didn't he? So we're fine on Holy Nova for now. We're totally fine on Holy Nova for now. Next turn we can Weapon Flame Defias, if we have room on the board. He's drawn a lot of cards. The question is, do they do anything for him yet? I would like that to die, and I kind of need to clear some room anyway, so I might just trade in some minions here. Alternatively, we don't have like lethal yet, do we? This is 3, 4, 7, 9, 10, 11, 13, 15. We're very close to lethal, believe it or not, already. And that's something you should constantly keep in mind with a deck like this. Am I close to lethal? How can I put myself in a position to get lethal? So on and so forth. So again, I think we'll weapon and we'll trade. We need 6 total damage here. So we'll trade the 2 1s in first and the 1/1 here as well. And this board could still get a little bit burned by Holy Nova, obviously. The good news is that the SI7 would live. And we'd be able to pump in 10 damage next turn, so he'd be down to 7. And we'd still have a Wolf Rider in hand. And if he doesn't have the answer immediately this turn, which I think he will. Oh my goodness, that can't feel particularly good. It's not even a taunt. Not sure what this deck's about. It's like hand priest so far. Like he's... Oh, that's far too slow. That's not gonna do it. That's far, far too slow. We have so much damage here. I don't even know. We don't even have to count. We know we have it. It's we have it by a mile. We even had it with a Wolf Rider. And there you go. You saw an opponent to could not handle the speed of the aggro rogue. Although he played a very, very slow game. All card draw, no board resolution. But still, I think it's obvious to see when you hit the minions in that kind of pace, just how quickly you can overwhelm your opponents. That's exactly what we did. So that's a good win. If we hadn't traded into the Acolyte, if he'd hit the Cabal Talon Priest, like there's a couple different lines we could have taken differently there that would have backfired for us, perhaps. Could have traded in that Acolyte for a lot of value. Could have taunted it with a Sun Fury Protector, for instance, that we know he had in his deck. There were some ways that game went south. We just thankfully dodged them by keeping the board clear. And remember, aggro does not mean face. You don't always have to go all face all the time. Sometimes you're okay just to make trades on a small minion here or there to protect your assets. We killed that Acolyte to preserve our board for future turns and deny him on-board minion synergy type plays. It's not a face deck. It's an aggro deck. Even face decks, though, sometimes, too, you need to trade when it's most valuable to do so. Something you kind of learn with time, but you got to understand what assets your opponent has and whether or not they can utilize the cards on board or the minions on board to really punish you. For instance, against a Warlock, you wouldn't want to leave something out for Shadow Flame if you knew that was going to clear your board. If they only had 4 mana to work with and you left a 2 attack minion out there on turn 3, you might get punished, right? There's all kinds of different interactions in the game to think about like that. So this is a token Druid, it looks like, and he's going to have a kind of similar game plan to what we are. I think I'm just going to go ahead and coin out this Defias Ringleader. He might hero power trade here to clear my board, but I also want his board to be cleared if I want to have initiative on the board. My hand's a little awkward because of this Rocketeer. You know, we only run one of these, but we got it in our opening hand, which, you know, you want to draw this later. You don't want this to be something you draw immediately. So that looks like exactly what we predicted. And now we can Argent Squire Hallucination, but we'll hallucinate first just to see what we get here. He runs natural. Oh, no. This is not cards he runs. This is cards in his class. We'll take the Enchanted Raven. It's actually a little better here than the Argent Squire. It makes his hero power a little less useful. Next turn we can Argent Squire Ravasar Rut for a really good turn, assuming this lives, which it very much should. Instead, we'll have to eviscerate that, which is also fine. That has to die. It's a max priority target always. Vicious Fledglings can just snowball out of control so quickly. So that makes our next turn a little more awkward. We can still hero power Ravasar if these live, which they should. I would expect them to. The card that he has that could punish us is Living Mana. We may not have an answer to that very efficiently if we don't really develop our board quickly here. Or force him to play defensively. It's actually a pretty good little play, just because those line up pretty well. Oh, Backstab helps a lot, though. Backstab is ridiculously good, because now we can SI7 to clear the board, right? We utilize our minions a little bit here. We sacrifice the Raven, basically, but it's absolutely worth it to clear the board against a token Druid. We still have 2 minions on board for the Ravasar next turn, so I think it's absolutely fine. But clearing the board prevents all kinds of shenanigans, right? Living Mana is the one card we don't want to see here. Swipe, I can live with. It kills my Ravasar, but it's not Living Mana. I just hope I get something... Ugh. Those are not very good together, but we have to do it. We have to play them. Not the ideal answer. If he hadn't swiped, man, we'd be in a good spot. But he resolved my board, so.
Put this apple on your head.
Innervate Living Mana. No, Hydra. Wow. I can actually kill that, but it takes a lot of work. If I hallucinate, I cannot play the Reckless Rocketeer. I think I have to hallucinate, though. Like, a Naturalize would be insane. Lotus Agents is fine. We're not going to deal with this right away, but we'll be able to soon. Frost Shock is good, but Betrayal's kind of intriguing as well, right? Frost Shock freezes that for a turn and deals 3 damage to his face. But Betrayal could kill anything on future turns. I think I need the AoE basically from Betrayal. I'll be able to kill that Bitter Tide eventually with the Reckless Rocketeer, I think, regardless. Yeah, because he might trade in this way. He probably just goes face, which is fine. We have 28 health. We have some health to work with. We can take our time. But if he plays a couple smaller things, Betrayal here could just demolish his board, so... I wish we could Reckless and Razor Pedal, but I can't. I guess I can just kill this with my board here and the Razor Pedal. It's really not the best turn, but... I could save the Razor Pedal and use my face and go down to 11. But is that really worth it? I don't think it is. I just wish I had more I could accomplish with my turn. We should have enough mana to hero power again before I need to hero power again, so I think I'm okay to go face here. Living mana is still a problem. I just hope we can dodge it. I don't have any AoEs for that kind of card. It seems like this guy's perhaps playing a budget token Druid. So I don't know that he would have the Living Mana necessarily because it is an epic card. It's a pretty good play. It's actually a really good play because these have so much health now that Betrayal doesn't actually accomplish a lot. This is just a lot of damage to his face, but is it enough? My weapon did get destroyed because of the pirate, which is funny. It's 9 damage to face, but that leaves me that I have to get 7 more. So I actually don't think I can go strictly face yet. I think I'm going to play this, go face with it, and then use the Eviscerate on one of these minions. So that we kind of keep his board a little bit in check. And then he probably trades in here. Hopefully he doesn't draw an answer to this that's not a trade. Kind of hoping this gets to go face and kill a minion, right? Because 2-4 into 5-2, not the most favorable trade to me, but it doesn't feel absolutely terrible. Or the 2-3, of course, he traded into. Same difference, but... So that's another problem. That's such a good top deck. How do I answer that? I have to go ahead and betray this, I think. Because this trades into my dude. This dude is actually worth like 3 damage on the Bitter Tide, and I might draw lethal here because I'm going to take him down here. Like, this does 3. I can't actually hit it with my face, though, because he's going to take me down to 7. So, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do enough damage to this or not. But I put myself within range, right? Like, we have some draws that maybe could win me a game. I doubt it. I think this will just kill me. Oh my gosh, another hit on the Bloodsail. I just don't think we're going to have the damage. That was pretty much the best possible top deck he had. I don't think I have any taunts. South Sea deckhand, I don't think that's enough, right? I can only do 9 to him. And then I die at the same time. So this is 5, right? But actually if I hit him 3 times here, it's 9 damage. He's gonna go down to 1. So we have to, we're just suiciding, but look how close we were. I actually don't know the order of operations there. If he had gone to 0, we might have been able to draw instead of lose. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It's pretty tough. The double Bitter Tide there cost me. Similar kind of deck to what ours is about, though. I like that matchup. That's pretty fun. Now we got a warrior, probably a pirate. Not a bad opening hand here. Double Firefly is just a lot of stuff to work with. South Sea, since I don't anticipate using my weapon, I'm going to actually toss that back. It's not a weapon route just yet. Sad that I drew Deadly Poison immediately after saying that. But still, I mean, we have a route where we play a lot of little dudes. And South Sea doesn't necessarily fit into that route very well, right? I think we're fine to just continue to do this. We can get a lot of stuff out next turn. These trade fairly favorably. I mean, if you weapons, the Buccaneer can trade up. This is a card you don't see much anymore in Constructed. The 1 health on this really hurts it. I wish we could Defiance Ringleader. We use the coin though, so we'll probably just have to go Flame Elemental. Maybe weapon if it makes more sense. We could just weapon now. So he'll be able to clear here if he wants. He's just going to go face, it looks like. It's fine, too. Maybe trade in 1. Okay. I'll just play both my dudes here, and we'll trade into the Buccaneer. He's going to have that for a while, so we know the buff's going to last. So there's no reason to try to, like, time out the weapon here. It has 2 more turns worth of buff. So it's the scariest thing on board. It was functionally a 3-1 permanently at that point, so. And even longer, as we can see now. We have the ability to catch up here. It's just going to take a minute, is the problem. The Wolf Rider does basically nothing. Go ahead and tank the Bloodsail if I want. But I have the Eviscerate for it next turn. I could also just Naga Corsair it next turn to put my weapon to 4. So I think instead I'm going to kill the smaller stuff now. Leaving this 1 health dude alive makes it... I took 1 extra damage to leave this alive. It might convince him to use the weapon on it. So it might save me some damage in the long run. It's a great curve for him so far. Like, he floated a mana, but he's just unloaded his hand. It's really hard to play against that. I think I have to Razor Petal, Eviscerate trade here. The reason I have to Razor Petal is just because it's the best way to use my mana. And this is actually a pretty valuable asset, too. We kind of wasted the Naga Corsair on our weapon, but we don't necessarily need it. We have to stabilize or kill him first is the problem, and I just don't see how we're going to be able to do that. There's just so much damage coming out right now. In fact, he's 1 off lethal, and he has the weapon, so I don't know that we have a win, because I don't think our deck has a taunt. We just don't run a taunt, so since we lost the race, we basically can't win this one. We can make a pretty good turn, but we just can't win. He has the weapon. So just a great curve from him, basically. Ooh, that was a close one. We could have won that if he just hadn't had the perfect opening. You know, we needed him to have one of his dead cards in hand instead of, like, the perfect pirate loadout, which is pirate synergy galore. 1 or 2 more turns there, and we would have stabilized the board, cut the mitigated the damage output he was putting out, and returned a ton of damage and just won on our own damage. We would have engaged in a race, basically, but just couldn't quite keep up. Makes me a little sad. Because that was a winnable game, for sure. I guess the only taunt we have on our deck is actually, we can adapt into a taunt off of our Ravasar runs, right? Once again, we'll throw back the Deadly and the weapon buffs. I think we've got a pretty good minion line, so we'd rather run into those a little bit later. Unfortunately, these are also cards we'd rather see later. It's a pretty good open to what we're trying to do. I think I'll just... If I Argent Squire now, he gets to trade and I can't backstab. So I can preemptively backstab. But this could also be really good against other cards he runs. I could, like, Argent Squire coin Cold Blood. It seems kind of crazy. It would be very bad against exactly Mortal Coil. I could just coin the Defias Ringleader. Weapon to kill off the Voidwalker next turn. I think this is the best play. It's still not very good, but... It's still not very good, but I think it's our best play. I mean, it's a pretty good turn one play in the scheme of things, right? It's a 4/3 for 1 mana on turn one. He should trade here. We can weapon back. We don't actually have to, though. We could just go ahead and start squeezing in damage, I guess. But I think weapon's fine. Backstab, Wolf Rider's a cool line. We might go ahead and Cold Blood the Ringleader. It's 2 health is a little bit awkward sometimes for Warlocks. Like, he could Shadow Bolt it, right? He might already Shadow Bolt it, but I have a feeling that's not something he wants to do. Ooh, that's a good card to discard. I'm happy to see that. Because it's really strong, right? I don't want to have to deal with it. Backstab, trade, eviscerate is actually okay, I think, and just play the Argent Squire. I'd rather use the Deadly Poison when I have 2 charges. We can eviscerate here, backstab, trade into this one. Could actually just Cold Blood, like I said. I kind of like the Cold Blood. It's just 6 damage instead of the Argent Squire. But the Argent Squire with the Cold Blood might be even better next turn, so I guess we can play that route. I don't think he's going to run AoE removal. This is like a Zoo discard deck. So getting minions out makes some sense. Next turn we can actually Hero Power, Deadly Poison, and Cold Blood. Hopefully resolve any giant minions he plays. And I can kill that easy with the Deadly Poison. Totally fine. I think we'll just ignore the Argent Squire. Could backstab trade it, but I don't know. I'd rather save that asset, I think. We'll just make our Argent Squire hard to kill and put out some damage, right? So next turn we have 8, 10 damage, 13 damage. Need to dodge the Lakari Fellhound. If that's a card he runs, that'd be pretty tough to get through without our sap. We have a sap. We could get through it, but it'd be tough. But instead, I think he's out of gas, and he decided to concede. Pretty tough Argent Squire. Actually, a 5-attack Argent Squire is a pretty scary threat sometimes. So, we're 2-2 so far. Not bad. A couple tough losses against what were ultimately basically top tier decks. Backstab's pretty good, I guess, against Murlocs. The Runt is a little bit of a greedy keep because we don't know that we're going to hit the other minions. We might hit a more awkward hand, and that'd be sort of a dead 2-drop. So I'm going to look for some better stuff. And this would have been a fairly awkward hand. We might have hit the Firefly Runt, but we don't know for sure. Whoa, Quest Paladin. Cool stuff happens in casual, it turns out. We don't have to coin anything out. We're not in a rush right now. We don't know what exactly his deck is going to include, but it seems like we're fine to take it a little bit slower, especially because our hand sort of lends to that strategy. This is an amazing card, and it's perfect in our deck because it buffs all of our little dudes. Even though it's kind of slow, like I just said, unfortunately we're playing just a little bit slower than we might like because, you know, this is a slow card. This is a card you don't really like to play on curve as an early minion. This is a damage card. Looks like we'll be able to backstab Wolf Rider here. Or not. Or not. We'll take that one. I don't know that we can count that a legit win. I think that might have just been a casual, didn't get to test out my deck like I wanted to kind of win. So I think that might be the freebie for this run. But I'd like to play at least one more game. We're technically 3-2, really more like 2-2. But still, I'm enjoying the deck. I'm having fun with it. I think it's doing what it's supposed to do. We're seeing what the deck is about. Darth Shaner's up next. Alright, so this is not the perfect combo, but if we can hit this on one with a coin, one drop, there's a good chance this lives. I mean, Mortal Coil is an answer, yeah, but I kind of want to try it this time around. These are much better answers, though. We'll just minion, coin, minion, Ravasar here, I think. And these are very likely to survive. Grimscale Oracle does not really decrease that likelihood at all. This could backfire a little bit, but I can always clean up with the weapon next turn if I have to. If this gets buffed into a trade, right, like it could blow up our Ravasar turn. But in that instance, we can actually just weapon up to trade back and probably be okay. Is he going to take the trade or just go face? Yeah, going face is good news for me. That is the dream. It's exactly what we needed. I think we're going to look for Divine Shield in this matchup. It looks like we're going to be trading into quite a bit of stuff. Normally +3 attack wouldn't be bad at all, but I have a feeling we're going to play just a little bit defensively to start. And this just makes our board really sticky and annoying for him, so I kind of like the Divine Shield here. The Super Argent Squire for 2 mana. This is the Shielded Mini-Bot, one of the best cards from the Goblins vs. Gnomes era. So he does rock a Mortal Coil. That's crazy. Double Mortal Coil! Goodness gracious. We can just Razor Petal and Flame Elemental and just trade. We could have backstabbed, right? We could have not played the Flame Elemental here and Razor Petaled instead. There were some alternatives, but I just want to get minions out. These things all combo really nicely with SI7 Agent, so I think I'm going to get more value off of them later. And he just continues to go face here, so I think we're just going to be able to demolish him. Yeah, he's out of cards already. Although he's a Warlock, like, we're just going to be able to make value trades forever and basically run over him. So another maybe not the most legitimate win ever, but I do think that that still counts because, you know, we basically answered his early aggression very efficiently while developing our own stuff, and we were going to be ahead basically forever because we still had like 4 cards in hand. He was going to be top decking / hero powering, and him hero powering means that we're doing damage, and that was pretty clearly a game that was going to be difficult for him to find a route to victory, so he just called it quits. Alright, we got to get rid of all this stuff. We need to hit a 1-drop for sure if we can. At least a hallucination. We don't have the coin, so we're not quite as flexible with our mana here. We'll play the deckhand. It's not perfect, but we do want to be the first on the board for sure. I wish we had a Patches in this deck. Patches would be a good fit, right? We'd be able to get more stuff out faster. We don't, so we're just going to make do with a turn 1, 2-1 minion. Pretty much just a vanilla statted 2-1. We're fine to play the Razor Petal here too. This is, again, not the dream start, but it's okay. It's something we can work with. We can kill a totem. I think we'll just weapon Cold Blood here. It looks a little weird maybe, but he might feel compelled to kill this, right? Like it's only 2 extra damage. It's not a ton, but we didn't have a lot to do with our turn exactly, and I'm trying to save up for combo and or Naga Corsair buffs to make our next turn better. So we wanted to get some value out of our turn. Wow, that's actually a ton of value, because that's a weak board for him to to Lightning Storm as far as I'm concerned, right? Like, there's way better boards out there for him to Lightning Storm. So, I don't mind that at all. It basically kills his turn 4. He probably doesn't have an answer to this now. Or maybe Lightning Bolt, Coin, Hex. That's actually a decent Hex, because at the end of the day, we don't have a lot of big stuff, right? But it's going to allow me to hit the Ravisar Runt here. Unfortunately, it means I can't really combo the SI7 agent very efficiently this turn, but it's more important to just hit this thing. This doesn't really help much against Lightning Storm most of the time. This, you know, kind of hurts against... this is bad against, like, Maelstrom Portal eventually, but I think it's a little bit stickier right now, so I'm going to go for that right now. Could toss out a Razor Petal to the face just to spin the mana, but I think we'll have plenty of reserve mana in the future. I think it's okay. Poisonous, by the way, might have been an option here, just assuming he's going to play something big that we could have traded into. But we have quite a bit of damage in hand right now, so I'm not thinking that's going to be an issue. There's 3 mana remaining. Igneous Elemental, that's pretty weak. Gosh, this is just so much damage. I'm kind of thinking about just going face here. You do 7, 9, 11 damage, puts him to 13. We'd still have 2, 3, 4, 8 in hand, and he'd still have to resolve our board. None of my math adds up that cleanly right now as far as killing this stuff is concerned. We can Razor Petal, SI, trade, send 4 to face. That's 4. It's just not that clean. Could just Razor Petal, SI. That's 5 mana. I could just send the 2 to face. Suppose this is okay. It's not the most efficient use of our resources by any means, but it does still apply the damage and leave me unexpected damage in hand, right? This is essentially a 9 damage combo at some point. Hopefully he can't totally clear my board. He's got so many cards in hand, though. It's probably possible. It's debatable that I should have just sent all that to face and left those minions on board, by the way. It's just, we already saw Lightning Storm, so it feels like there might not be another Lightning Storm, and he has to play it a little bit slow. In which case, we're much better off actually developing minions, right? It's 5, 7, 9, 11. We're not quite to the full damage here yet, but I do think I want to play this while we can. I think I ignore that, right? Like, there's no reason for me to try to kill that at this point. We just got to go face. And I'll go ahead and use my weapon too. We might hit a deadly poison next turn or something. We want to get multiple charges on. We just want to get the damage through while we know there's no taunt. There's some advantages there. But this can only trade into one thing at a time, right? So if he's going to Lightning Storm, he's going to Lightning Storm regardless of this minion. He does have the Maelstrom Portal, but he missed the spell damage, thank God, because everything we had 2 health. Does he have the other one? Even if he does, it leaves me with a couple dudes, or one, no dudes he can trade in. And Maelstrom Portal. No, so there is the taunt we were worried about. Wow, that's a value trade if I've ever seen one. And that is lethal. What a top deck. Although, we might have had it anyway, right? I think we did. Yeah, we had it anyway. We could backstab anything, weapon, eviscerate. Oh, we may not have had the mana for the weapon, though. I'm not sure we did have it exactly. We were really, really close either way, and regardless, we are in a position to top deck, because that's what our deck's about. So that was a pretty cool little win, actually. And that'll wrap it up for me and the budget aggro rogue. We certainly won more games than we lost. We frustrated a couple opponents out of the game completely. And that's a fun little deck, right? It's cool. It's not exactly something you've seen or an archetype that's really common on the ladder necessarily. But it's a deck that just works in and of itself. It's got some cool pieces. And it's a good way to start playing Rogue. Now, granted, not all of these cards which you're going to craft are cards that you'd use in Rogue in the future necessarily. Razor Petal Lasher has picked up some steam. Naga Corsair is good in other instances outside of Rogue. Hallucination does seem to be a pretty solid card. Firefly is a good card that's played in a ton of decks. So there's still some valuable crafting pieces here that you're going to add to your collection. Even if you continue to play Rogue, they might not necessarily fit all your Rogue decks for the future, but despite that, they're still going to make your collection better on average in Hearthstone, which I think is pretty important too. So, now that we've played the deck, talked through it, if you guys have any thoughts, comments, questions on this deck, of course leave them in the comments below. I'll be happy to read everything you have to say. My community will chime in with some good tips and advice, I'm sure. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, game on.